It started with laughter, not the good kind, not the kind that heals, the kind that cuts. On a tense Friday night, America Tonight with Laura Ingraham aired live from Washington, D.C. The panel was packed. Senator Marco Rubio, liberal political strategist Jessica Tarlov, and two commentators from opposite ends of the political spectrum. The topic? Immigration and crime in urban America. Tarlov sat confident, calm, almost smirking. Rubio had barely gotten out his opening line, a measured statement on the rise of gang violence in border towns, when Tarlov struck. "Senator, with all due respect," she interrupted, flipping through her notes, "you're recycling outdated fear-based talking points. This isn't 2016. Modern America has moved on." Laughter erupted, not just from the panel, but from the live audience. And somewhere online, progressives clipped the moment within seconds. Jessica Rex Rubio, the X caption read. It racked up 300,000 views before the segment even ended. But what no one knew, not the panel, not the millions watching, was that Rubio wasn't just waiting to respond. He was waiting to change everything. And in his folder was something no one expected, something that would make America go silent. Rubio didn't flinch. He didn't blink. He just reached under the desk and pulled out a white folder. "Jessica," he said softly, not raising his voice. "You say I'm out of touch. You say America has moved on. But have you looked at the numbers lately? Or just the headlines your team writes?" He opened the folder, revealing printed pages, graphs, screenshots, highlighted quotes. This is from the DOJ, updated just 3 days ago. Cities with the sharpest spikes in violent crime also have the highest influx of undocumented migrants. Not because the migrants are all criminals, but because the system is failing them. We don't have enough vetting. We don't have enough resources. And criminals are exploiting it. The laughter stopped. And this, he added, holding up a printed tweet from Jessica herself, dated just 5 months ago, was your post after the East Harlem subway attack. We need serious border reform before more lives are lost. Her face paled. I'm not here to argue, Rubio continued. I'm here because people are dying, and pretending this is about politics is how we lose more of them. The studio went silent. For the first time that night, Tarlov had no comeback, and America, from New York to Phoenix, was glued to their screens. Within minutes of the segment airing, the internet exploded, but not the way people expected. A 28-second clip titled, Rubio Shuts Down Tarlov with Her Own Words, hit YouTube, X, and Rumble. By midnight, it passed 8 million views. The hashtags Rubio Turns the Tables, Fox News Fireworks, and Crime and Truth trended across the globe. But it wasn't just politics anymore. In Chicago, a woman posted a video sobbing, holding a photo of her younger brother, stabbed 2 blocks from their house. He was 17, she said. Everything Rubio said tonight, that's our reality. We kept quiet, thinking it was just bad luck. But we're not alone. We've been abandoned. In El Paso, a single mother recorded herself in tears. My son was jumped outside school last week. The principal told me not to call attention to it. We can't stereotype, he said. What about our kids' lives? Tarlov, to her credit, went silent on social media. She didn't post. She didn't spin. She didn't lash out. Rubio didn't gloat either. Instead, he posted one line. The truth hurts, but it saves lives. What started as a TV ambush was now a national reckoning. And what happened next, no one could have predicted. 3 days after the segment aired, Marco Rubio's office received a letter, handwritten, sloppy cursive, smudged ink. Dear Senator Rubio, my dad was killed last year in Phoenix. He was on his way home from work. 2 people robbed him. One was out on bail. The other had crossed the border 3 months before. I'm 14. My little sister's 8. Mom cries a lot. Nobody listens when we talk. But when you said what you said on Fox, she sat up. She said, "Finally, someone sees us. Thank you for saying what she's been screaming in silence." The envelope had no return address, just the words, "For someone who still cares." Rubio read the letter twice. Then he placed it in his jacket pocket. And later that night, while walking alone near the National Mall, he broke down. That clip, Rubio alone, silent with the Capitol behind him, holding the letter up to the wind, went viral too. Even liberal creators shared it, because some truths transcend sides. What the world didn't expect was who spoke next. President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, known for his courage in standing up to global powers, was in New York for a UN Youth Climate Forum. But during a quiet off-camera moment, a young African-American journalist asked him off-script, "President Traoré, what did you think of Rubio's Fox News moment?" He paused, smiled faintly, and said, "Truth isn't patriotic or progressive. It's human. And when someone risks their comfort to speak for the hurting, that's leadership." The video was posted by the journalist's cousin, a college sophomore. It passed 5 million views by sunrise. Americans, many of them disillusioned, began resharing it with the hashtag, "Even Traoré knows." For years, the media painted politics in red and blue. But now, viewers saw something deeper, a war between truth and silence. And suddenly, Rubio and Traoré, two men from opposite worlds, were now unexpected allies in honesty. Behind closed doors, Jessica Tarloff was unraveling emails, death threats, but also something worse, letters from grieving families, dozens of them, from New Jersey to Texas. They didn't curse her, they pleaded. "You mocked him, Jessica, but we lost our son last fall, and we've been screaming ever since. Maybe it's time to listen instead of laugh." She started reading them alone in her home office. Her toddler napped in the next room. Her husband stayed quiet. Then came the letter that shattered her. "My daughter looked like you. She was 23. She volunteered at the border helping migrants. She begged the city for stronger security. She was found dead 2 months later. Please, don't let this become a game." Tears poured down Jessica's face. Not performative, not political, real. The next night, she didn't appear on Fox or MSNBC or CNN. She sat at her kitchen table and recorded a raw, unedited video. "I was wrong. I laughed at pain. And I'm sorry." That clip, the one where her voice cracked and her makeup smeared, went more viral than the original debate. Because nothing is louder than the sound of a human heart breaking in front of the world. 3 weeks after the Fox News segment, Senator Rubio quietly traveled to Laredo, Texas. No press, no staff, no announcement. He was attending the funeral of Juanita Alvarez, a 62-year-old cafeteria worker gunned down walking home from her night shift. A stray bullet from a gang crossfire tied to a cartel-backed operation. Juanita wasn't a political pawn. She was a grandmother. She made tamales for the whole block every Sunday. She volunteered at church. She'd lived in America legally for 39 years. Her daughter, Maria Alvarez, was the one who invited Rubio. "My mom wasn't a statistic," Maria told the small crowd, her voice trembling. "She was a person." And when Senator Rubio spoke on Fox News, he gave her a voice, even if it was too late. Rubio stood in the back, head bowed, sunglasses on. When the family asked him to say a word, he hesitated. Then he stepped up and whispered, "We failed her. We talk about reform, but we keep stalling. We politicize pain. Let Juanita's life not be a paragraph in a policy memo, but a turning point." Even the priest wept. Something unexpected started happening in the days that followed. Not in Washington, not in media, in the hearts of Latino families across America. Polls shifted, not slightly, dramatically. For the first time, 63% of Hispanic voters in urban areas reported aligning with tougher immigration policy tied to stronger crime enforcement. But it wasn't just about safety, it was personal. Clips of Maria Alvarez's funeral speech spread. Daughters, sons, grandparents, people who had stayed silent, now spoke. A former Obama voter in San Diego posted, "I never thought I'd say this, but Rubio is right. When my cousin was shot, no one came, no protests, no hashtags. But this man showed up at a stranger's funeral. That's more than most politicians do in a lifetime." In Miami, a mural went up overnight. Rubio's face on one side, Juanita Alvarez's on the other. In the middle, silence kills, truth heals. Cable news hosts tried to pivot the conversation, but they were too late. The people, especially Latino families, had taken the story into their own hands, and for once, America was listening. Jessica Tarloff returned to TV 4 weeks later. Not on Fox, not on CNN. She chose a late-night podcast, small, unfiltered, real. She sat across from a young veteran-turned-host. No script, no notes, just raw truth. That moment, when Senator Rubio read my old tweet on air, I wanted to crawl into the floor, not because I was wrong, but because I knew, deep down, he wasn't lying. She paused, eyes glistening. I looked away from real pain to protect my side. But pain doesn't wear a party badge. I saw the funeral in Laredo. I heard Maria Alvarez speak. And then I saw my daughter. In her eyes. The host handed her a tissue, but she didn't use it. I needed to feel that tear. I needed it to burn. Because for too long we've let political teams write over human tragedies, and we're breaking our own people in the process. The clip was titled, "Jessica Breaks the Wall." It was the most watched podcast of the year. Even Rubio shared it with 3 words. "Thank you, Jessica." The email arrived on a Tuesday morning. Rubio's assistant almost deleted it. The subject line was vague. From a father who understands. But something about it felt personal. Inside was a letter, written in broken English. From Carlos Martinez, a widower and former police officer in El Salvador, whose son had tried to escape cartel recruitment by fleeing north. He crossed the U.S. border 6 months ago, only to be killed in a gang-related shooting near Los Angeles. "I sent my son to America to be safe. I thought he'd have a future there. But he died alone, far from his mother's grave. I don't blame America. I blame the system, the traffickers, the corruption. But Senator Rubio, you were the first person who said the truth. That this is not immigration. This is neglect dressed in policy." Attached was a photo. A young boy in a school uniform, smiling in front of a crumbling brick wall. He couldn't have been older than 13. Rubio printed it, framed it, placed it next to Juanita Alvarez's letter. Because now, this wasn't about one nation's silence. It was about an entire hemisphere's forgotten grief. Behind the marble walls of the U.S. Senate, something was shifting. Whispers, side glances, closed-door conversations. It wasn't about polls. It wasn't even about the DOJ report Rubio had read on air. It was about momentum. One senator from the Northeast, Democrat Progressive Urban District, slipped Rubio a folded note after a floor session. "I disagreed with how you said it, but I no longer disagree with what you said." Another, usually a critic, pulled him aside in the Capitol elevator. "I buried my nephew last year. Baltimore. Same story. I just didn't think anyone would believe it coming from me." And then came the moment no one expected. The Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime, known for dysfunction and deadlock, unanimously voted to reopen hearings on the link between immigration policy, gang violence, and urban safety. The press barely covered it. but in family kitchens, barber shops, and church basements across the country, people noticed, because change wasn't coming from the top. It was rising from the ground. And in the most divided government in years, a whisper had become a roar. His name was Elian Ruiz, 12 years old. From Houston, son of 2 legal immigrants. His uncle had been shot walking him home from school. Elian had written a short essay for his 6th grade English class. His teacher, moved to tears, posted it online. They keep saying kids like me are dangerous, but I'm the one scared. I see people die on our street. I hear screaming at night. And when I told my teacher I wanted to grow up to fix the laws, she said I should watch someone named Marco Rubio. I did. He didn't yell. He just told the truth. And I thought, maybe I can too. That essay was shared by Ibrahim Traoré himself during a UN youth address. Holding back emotion, Traoré read Elian's final line aloud. I don't want to be famous. I just want to be safe. When he finished, the room fell silent. Even leaders who once dismissed the issue looked down, ashamed, because when a child speaks with more clarity than Congress, the world listens. Her name was Lucia Morales, only 9 years old. She lived in a tent under a rusted overpass in McAllen, Texas, with her mother and baby brother. Her father, gone, deported after trying to report a local gang that had taken over the shelter where they'd briefly stayed. Lucia didn't have toys. She had a journal. And in that journal, she drew fences, tall, wire, scary ones. But on the other side, she always drew something. A school, a smiling teacher, a safe bed. One of the volunteer nurses, Auntie Clara, found her scribbles and shared them on a Facebook page. She captioned the photo. This is what immigration means to children, not politics, not borders, just dreams they can't reach. It went viral. The next morning, Lucia was interviewed for a local radio segment. She whispered, I don't want a big house. I just want my mom to not cry when it rains. That single sentence broke America's heart. Even the loudest pundits on cable news went quiet. Because sometimes, a child's wish shouts louder than a nation's anger. For months, Marco Rubio had remained composed, sharp, prepared, measured, until the night he appeared on 60 Minutes. The interviewer, a seasoned journalist known for grilling guests, asked a simple question. Senator, after all this, what moment stayed with you most? Rubio exhaled, closed his eyes. He didn't say the DOJ stats, or the Senate vote, or even the Fox News firestorm. He pulled a folded drawing from his suit pocket, Lucia's sketch of the fence in the school. This, he said softly, voice cracking. This is the real wall we've built. Not of steel, but of neglect, of political pride, of fear to face the truth. The camera zoomed in. His hands trembled. These kids, they don't want more speeches. They want silence to stop hurting them. The interviewer didn't interrupt, didn't challenge. He just whispered, You're crying, Senator. Rubio nodded. Because for the first time, I see the cost of all the words we left unsaid. That clip went viral, not because he won a debate, but because he lost control and let the pain speak for itself. It was supposed to be a quiet panel, a local forum on urban violence in South Chicago, organized by a church coalition. Jessica Tarloff had flown in alone. No handlers, no makeup team, no cameras. But word spread fast. The room filled with mothers, fathers, grandparents holding portraits of lost children, and across from them, Jessica stood at the mic. I used to roll my eyes when people talked about crime statistics, she began. I thought I was defending the right thing, until I realized I was defending silence. She held up a folder, one nearly identical to Rubio's. These are your stories, not mine. These are the names I never spoke, until it was too late. In the back row, a woman rose. Her name was Tamika Brown. Her son, Jamal, had been killed at 14. No one ever showed up to mourn him. Until now. She walked up to Jessica and hugged her. Whispers turned to applause. Applause turned to tears. One man sobbed openly. "This ain't about politics no more. It's about being seen." That night, even the local news anchor cried on air, because finally, the silence was breaking everywhere. It started with a single post. A father in Newark whose daughter had been killed in a stray shooting said, "We've waited long enough. We're marching for every name the headlines forgot." Then another joined, then hundreds, then thousands. By dawn, cities across America were flooded with families, holding photos, candles, drawings. No political signs, no slogans, just pain and faces. They called it the March of the Forgotten. In Phoenix, a mother knelt in the street holding up her son's baseball glove. In Baltimore, a little girl passed out handwritten notes that simply read, "Please don't let me be next." Even Jessica Tarlov marched, quietly holding a sign. Silence almost killed me too. Rubio watched from the steps of the Capitol, tears in his eyes. The wind carried the chant rising from 40 cities across America. We are not statistics. We are not headlines. We are human. And from Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré sent a message that was read aloud in Times Square. "Justice begins when pain is no longer ignored. America, you are not alone in this fight." It wasn't a protest. It was a funeral march for silence. The Senate chamber was packed, cameras rolling, people standing in the halls, shoulder to shoulder as the hearing on urban crime and immigration failure began. First up was Maria Alvarez, still grieving her mother, Juanita. "You ignored us until we died in your streets," she said, trembling but strong. "We paid taxes. We obeyed the laws, but you left us wide open." Then Elian Ruiz, just 12, walked up with shaking hands. "Please don't wait till I'm dead to remember me." A hush fell over the chamber. Then came Lucia Morales, the little girl from McAllen. She brought her drawing and placed it on the witness table. "You're the people who can open the fence," she whispered. Even battle-hardened senators couldn't hide their tears. Senator Rubio stood to close the hearing. He didn't give a speech. He simply pointed to the drawing. "This is America's future, not policy, not power. This child. If we can't protect her, what are we even doing here?" The entire room rose in a standing ovation. For once, the politics stopped, and the healing began. 6 months later, the nation had changed. A bipartisan crime and immigration reform bill passed, named the Juanita Act, funding for victim families, stricter vetting, mental health support in border communities. And for the first time, trauma counselors deployed in cities where violence had become normalized. In McAllen, volunteers built a community school. They named it Lucia's House of Hope. On opening day, Lucia rang a golden bell at the entrance, shouting, "We did it, Mama!" In Houston, Elian was offered a scholarship to study public policy. He smiled and said, "One day I'll sit in that chair Rubio sits in and keep telling the truth." As for Jessica, she now runs a national program connecting grieving families with lawmakers. Her first billboard read, "I almost missed the truth. Don't wait like I did." And on the 1-year anniversary of the Fox News debate, Senator Marco Rubio sat quietly at the edge of Lucia's playground, watching the children laugh behind the fence that had once divided them. The fence wasn't torn down. It was turned into a garden wall, and on it, engraved, "From pain came truth. From truth came light. From light, a nation remembered itself." If this story moved you, if you cried with Lucia, if you saw your child in Elian, if you felt the silence break inside your chest, then don't just leave. Like this video, because silence wins when stories disappear. Subscribe, because we have more stories that will shake the world awake. And please, leave a comment below. Tell us, who are you marching for? Your words might be the light someone else is waiting to see. This isn't just a video, it's a movement. And you are part of it.